So I think my fondest memory was Season 1, the inaugural season of the Overwatch League.
First things first, we're gonna have the Boston Uprising, who are getting closer and closer to locking up their overall playoffs.
I coached the Boston Uprising, and going into that season, we were really kind of an underdog. I think most people thought that we would be the worst team in the league.
There it is! The Hulk combo! Yeah, boy! Gaps, so that was...
And I think it was in stage 2. We played the London Spitfire. They were one of the better teams at the time. They had a really stacked roster. Everybody thought they were going to be great, and we ended up upsetting them. And I think that was kind of the moment where we knew that we were going to be pretty good.
Boston Uprising, and the kills come raiding through, but Kelix is there with the wings, and Dream Casper there to chop Notion in half.
That was kind of our moment to show the world that, hey, we're actually a good team. We're not the last place team that you guys thought we were. It was a really great experience with the rest of the staff and the players. I remember being in the dugout, watching the match, and all the coaches and myself, we were just going crazy, hugging each other. I think Krusty, who's the head coach, he might have cried a little bit. So yeah, that was probably my favorite experience. The first time I saw the game, I think it was at BlizzCon in, I want to say 2014. It was the first time that Overwatch was announced, and I saw it, and right away I thought that it was going to be a great esport. You could kind of tell right from the get-go that it was developed with that in mind. So yeah, that really drew me to it immediately, just from seeing like the initial trailers and Blizzard talking about the game. I knew that I was going to try and play it, and I was going to try to go pro. So it was kind of like a conscious decision for me right away. I did play in the first LAN tournament in Overwatch, which some people might remember. It was a long time ago. I was on a team called Gale Force Esports. There were actually a lot of pretty well-known players that ended up going there, like Sure4, I think Cloud9's whole roster was there. That was the first, offline big tournament that I played in. But prior to that, I did play in a handful of online events. With Complexity, like I said, we were really motivated by that kind of chain of events that happened. And so we also this was the first time that we had a gaming house to practice together at. So we basically had the resources that we needed. Before joining Complexity, we were all kind of on our own. I was working a job. I think a couple other people were working jobs as well. But with Complexity, this was actually the first time where we could actually focus entirely on the game. Everything that we needed was taken care of. And so that made a huge difference for us. We were basically able to get kind of to the top level and post some really good results. We went to a couple of LANs. I think one of the highlights for us was a LAN in Germany where we upset Cloud9. But yeah, that was just, kind of the peak of my career as a player. It was a really exciting time. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. For a couple of years, towards the end of my playing career, everybody in the scene knew that Overwatch League was going to be a thing, and there was going to be this, greater league that was going to really formalize the scene. And it was kind of something that was lingering in all of our minds, and we were all kind of waiting for this big thing to happen. So I was on CLG, and we knew it was coming up at this point. It was a few months out, things were gonna start happening. At the time, I was still committed to being a player. I loved what I did. But kind of as Overwatch League started to really happen and formalize, and I started to actually talk to these teams that were gonna be in the league, I kind of realized that I wanted to transition into coaching. So in hindsight, I didn't really know, during my last game that it was going to be my last game. At that time when I was playing that game, I thought I wanted to keep playing. But there was kind of this lull after, basically when we were waiting for Overwatch League to happen, and Blizzard was like, all right, this thing's gonna happen in the next few months. There were no real events. So during that time, I kind of had time to reflect and think about, okay, what am I gonna do next? And at that point, I kind of realized, I'd rather go into coaching at this point. So that's kind of how it played out. Joe Meister, who's currently the director here at HU, was a former teammate of mine, actually. He played on Complexity with me. We had a really great relationship as teammates and as friends, and he was aware that I was coaching in Overwatch League, and actually he reached out to me during the off season of the second year. And basically he said that they were looking to add an assistant coach here at HU. At the time, we had 2 rosters here for Overwatch, so it kind of made sense to have 2 coaches and have one coach be able to focus more on subs and the other on starters. I was considering either changing teams in Overwatch League or taking a step back. So when Joe reached out, it was actually perfect timing, and it just sounded like a great fit for me, and it ended up being just that. Sometimes I do. I definitely don't think I could do it anymore. You know, if I put a lot of hours into it, I could get back, but you know, it's not something I'm considering doing or ever will at this point. I would just say that I look back on my memories from playing. You know, I look back on those memories very fondly. Those were great times. I think for me, the highlight of it was my relationship with my teammates and kind of being almost like brothers in arms, it felt like, on those teams. And I think part of it does go back to us having that chip on our shoulders, kind of brought us closer together. So yeah, I kind of do miss that side of it, but I would say I don't really miss playing itself. You know, like I said, I think coaching, I get a lot of the same joy that I got from playing. So yeah, it's not something I consider a lot, but I definitely do, you know, look back on those days fondly.